Dr. Rebecca Chen, and I met during our postdoctoral research at Stanford's Biochemistry Department in 2019. We both specialized in drug delivery systems, and when she proposed we collaborate on a novel formulation for targeted cancer therapy, I was excited. She had the institutional connections. I had the technical expertise in lipid nanoparticle synthesis. We drafted a simple partnership agreement, 50/50 ownership of any discoveries. I still have that signed document in my files. Dated August 15, 2019. Rebecca provided the lab space through her faculty position. I provided the actual research methodology and execution. The work was grueling. For 3 years, I spent 60-hour weeks in that lab, methodically testing different lipid combinations, adjusting pH levels, measuring encapsulation efficiency. Rebecca attended conferences, networked with pharmaceutical executives, and appeared at faculty meetings. She'd stop by the lab twice a week, ask how things were progressing, and remind me to keep detailed notes. I did. I kept extraordinarily detailed notes. Every experiment went into consecutively numbered laboratory notebooks, as required by patent law: date, time, hypothesis, methodology, results. Failures were documented as meticulously as successes. Each page was signed and witnessed by our department's lab manager, Dr. James Morrison, who initialed and dated every entry. By December 2022, I had filled 847 notebooks. The breakthrough came on February 3, 2023. After 1,247 failed formulations, I discovered that a specific ratio of DSPC, cholesterol, and PEG lipids, when combined with a novel pH gradient loading technique, achieved 94% encapsulation efficiency and showed targeted delivery to tumor cells with minimal systemic toxicity. The results were extraordinary. I called Rebecca immediately. She arrived within an hour, reviewed my data, and watched me replicate the results. Her eyes widened as she studied the cell viability assays. "This is it," she whispered. "This is the breakthrough we've been working toward." I nodded, exhausted but thrilled. "We need to file a patent application immediately. These results are revolutionary." "Absolutely," Rebecca agreed. "I'll contact our patent attorney tomorrow. This is going to change everything for both of us." Rebecca scheduled the patent filing for March 15, 2023. I assumed we'd be listed as co-inventors, equal partners in the discovery. The night before the appointment, she called me. "I've been thinking about the patent application," she said carefully. "Given my faculty position and institutional relationships, it might be strategically better if I'm listed as the primary inventor. You'll absolutely be credited as a contributor, of course." Something in her tone made my stomach clench. "Rebecca, we agreed to equal partnership. I developed this formulation. Every experiment, every failed attempt, every optimization, and I provided the lab, the institutional support, the strategic direction." She interrupted smoothly. "Look, this doesn't change anything between us. It's just optics for the pharmaceutical companies. You know how conservative they are. They want to see established faculty credentials." I didn't argue. I'd already hired an intellectual property attorney. 3 days earlier, something had prompted me to review our partnership agreement. When I couldn't find Rebecca's signed copy in our shared files, I'd contacted Lawrence Mitchell, a patent attorney specializing in academic IP disputes. He'd reviewed my documentation, and his advice was clear: say nothing, document everything, and let her proceed. "If she's planning to cut you out," Lawrence explained, "she'll reveal her hand at the patent filing. We'll have documentation of her fraud from official proceedings." So on March 15th, I arrived at the patent attorney's office as requested. Rebecca was already there with Martin Schultz, the patent lawyer she'd hired. I recognized the setup immediately. No one had sent me any drafts to review. No one had requested my input on claims or specifications. The patent application listed Dr. Rebecca Chen as the sole inventor. My name appeared once, in the acknowledgments, with laboratory assistance from Dr. Sarah Martinez. Martin Schultz, Rebecca's attorney, walked us through the application. Rebecca nodded along, occasionally interjecting with questions that made her sound knowledgeable. When Martin reached the section describing the novel formulation methodology, Rebecca explained it confidently using my exact words from notebook entry number 823. "This is brilliant work, Dr. Chen," Martin said. "The pharmaceutical companies are going to be very interested in this." Rebecca smiled. "Thank you. It's been 3 years of intensive research." Martin turned to me politely. "Dr. Martinez, Do you have any questions about the filing? Just one, I said calmly. The methodology described in claims 3 through 17, who developed those specific protocols? Rebecca's expression didn't change. Those emerged from our collaborative research process. Obviously, as the principal investigator and lead inventor, I directed the strategic research approach and the actual benchwork. I pressed the 1,247 failed experiments before the successful formulation. Who conducted those? Dr. Martinez provided valuable technical assistance, Rebecca said smoothly. She turned to the patent examiner who'd joined us for the formal filing. My assistant here helped with some basic tasks. She's been an excellent lab technician. I nodded politely and said nothing more. Martin seemed satisfied. The examiner accepted the application. Rebecca shook everyone's hands, thanked them for their time, and suggested we celebrate later. I declined. I had a meeting with my attorney scheduled for that afternoon. Lawrence Mitchell's office was downtown, 30 minutes from Stanford's campus. I arrived with 3 large boxes of documentation and my laptop containing digitized copies of everything. Tell me what you have, Lawrence said, after I'd explained the patent filing. I opened the first box. 847 consecutively numbered laboratory notebooks. Every page signed and witnessed by our department's lab manager. Each notebook is dated, with entries showing timestamps for every experiment I conducted between August 2019 and February 2023. Lawrence picked up notebook number 823, the one where I'd documented the breakthrough formulation. He examined the detailed methodology, the witness signature, the date stamp. This is remarkably thorough documentation. Patent law requires it, I said. Every researcher knows proper lab notebooks are essential for proving inventorship. I opened my laptop. I also have digital records, every email exchange with Rebecca from 2019 to present, every shared document showing my authorship, our original partnership agreement with her signature. And I have this. I pulled up a spreadsheet. This is a complete timeline. Column A, dates of every experiment I conducted, cross-referenced to lab notebook numbers. Column B, dates Rebecca was present in the lab, verified by building access logs I obtained from campus security. Column C, dates of every email where I reported results to her. Lawrence studied the spreadsheet. The pattern was damning. I had been in the lab 6 days a week, averaging 10-hour days. Rebecca's building access showed visits averaging twice weekly, typically lasting under an hour. The building access logs, Lawrence said carefully. How did you obtain those? Public records request. Stanford is a private institution, but research labs receiving federal funding must maintain security access records. I've filed a Freedom of Information Act request for access logs to our specific lab space. Brilliant, Lawrence murmured. What else do you have? I pulled out another stack of documents. Complete protocols for every stage of the research, written in my handwriting. Signed by me. Witnessed by Dr. Morrison. Failed experiment reports sold, 1,247 of them documenting every attempt before the successful formulation. Procurement records showing I personally ordered all reagents and materials. And this. I handed him a USB drive. Video documentation. Our lab has security cameras for hazardous materials compliance. I obtained footage showing me working alone in the lab during every critical experiment, including the breakthrough on February 3rd. Rebecca wasn't present. Lawrence examined the materials for 20 minutes without speaking. Finally, he looked up. Dr. Martinez, this is the most comprehensive documentation of inventorship I've seen in 15 years of patent litigation. She doesn't have a defense. The question is, what outcome do you want? I want what's mine, I said simply. Full recognition as the sole inventor, control of the patent, and compensation for the 3 years I spent making her look brilliant. Then we file a patent challenge immediately, Lawrence said. We'll also pursue a fraud claim and breach of contract. With this documentation, we'll win. The only question is how much she'll lose. Patent challenges in cases of inventorship fraud move quickly once the evidence is clear. Lawrence filed our challenge on March 28, 2023. By April 15, we were in depositions. Rebecca arrived with Martin Schultz and 2 additional attorneys from a firm specializing in intellectual property defense. She wore a navy suit and carried a leather portfolio. She looked confident. That confidence lasted approximately 12 minutes. Lawrence began gently. Dr. Chen, the patent application lists you as the sole inventor of the targeted drug delivery formulation. Can you describe your role in developing this technology? I directed the research program, Rebecca said smoothly. I developed the strategic approach, identified the research questions, and supervised the experimental work and the actual bench work. The experiments themselves, Dr. Martinez conducted experiments under my supervision and direction. I see. Can you describe the specific methodology used in the breakthrough formulation, the one detailed in patent claims 3 through 17? Rebecca launched into an explanation. She was articulate and detailed. She was also reading directly from my notebook entry number 823, recognized my own phrases. Lawrence let her talk. When she finished, he slid a document across the table. Dr. Chen, this is lab notebook number 823, dated February 3, 2023. The entry describes the breakthrough formulation in detail. Do you recognize this handwriting? Rebecca barely glanced at it. That's Dr. Martinez's handwriting. She documented the experiments I directed. I see. And this signature at the bottom of each page, also Dr. Martinez's signature, and this witness signature and date stamp, that would be Dr. Morrison, our lab manager. Standard protocol for lab notebooks. Lawrence nodded. Standard protocol indeed. Dr. Chen, why aren't there any lab notebooks documenting your experimental work? Rebecca's expression flickered. I directed the research. Dr. Martinez maintained the technical documentation, so you conducted no experiments yourself. I supervised the experimental design. Lawrence pulled out another document. This is building access log data for Lab 247, where this research was conducted, covering August 2019 through February 2023. According to these records, Dr. Martinez's keycard accessed the lab 1,247 times during this period. Your keycard accessed the lab 89 times. Can you explain this discrepancy? Martin Schultz, Rebecca's attorney, interjected. Dr. Chun's responsibilities extended beyond hands-on lab work. She had teaching obligations, administrative duties. I'm asking Dr. Chun, Lawrence said calmly. Dr. Chun, were you present in the lab on February 3, 2023, when the breakthrough formulation was developed? Rebecca hesitated. I was on campus that day. Dr. Martinez called me with the results. So you weren't present during the actual experiment. I was available for consultation. Lawrence slid another document forward. This is security camera footage from Lab 247, dated February 3, 2023. Timestamped 9:47 a.m. through 3:23 p.m. The footage shows Dr. Martinez working alone, conducting the experiments that led to the breakthrough formulation. You don't appear in this footage. Were you in the lab that day or not? I reviewed the results afterward, Rebecca said tightly. That's not what I asked. The deposition continued for 4 hours. Lawrence systematically dismantled every claim Rebecca made. He presented email after email showing me reporting results to her, asking questions, proposing modifications. He showed procurement records with my signature ordering reagents. He presented witness testimony from Dr. Morrison confirming that I had conducted all experimental work. The most devastating moment came when Lawrence presented a specific email exchange. Dr. Chun, this email is dated January 28, 2023. 1 week before the breakthrough, Dr. Martinez writes, and I quote, I think I've identified the issue with our encapsulation efficiency. The pH gradient protocol needs modification. I'm proposing we adjust the buffer composition and test a new lipid ratio. If this works, we'll have our formulation. Your response, sent 4 hours later, reads, sounds good, try it and let me know. Did you write this response? Yes, Rebecca said quietly. So Dr. Martinez identified the key modification that led to the successful formulation. She proposed the experiment. She conducted the experiment. She documented the results. What exactly was your contribution to this breakthrough? Silence. Martin Schultz tried to redirect. My client provided strategic oversight, institutional resources, funding. Funding came from an NIH grant, listing both Dr. Chen and Dr. Martinez as co-investigators. Lawrence interrupted. I have the grant application here. Dr. Martinez wrote 73% of the technical sections. Dr. Chen wrote the administrative summary. The institutional resources lab space and equipments are provided by Stanford to all faculty and researchers. That's not a personal contribution from Dr. Chen. He turned back to Rebecca. Dr. Chen, Did you intentionally exclude Dr. Martinez from the patent application despite knowing she developed the breakthrough formulation? I believed my role as principal investigator merited primary inventorship, Rebecca said. That's not what I asked. Did you know Dr. Martinez developed this formulation? Rebecca's face went pale. She worked under my supervision. Did you know she developed this formulation? Yes, Rebecca whispered. Martin Schultz's face had gone rigid. Lawrence produced one final document, our original partnership agreement, signed by both of us, clearly stating equal ownership of any discoveries. Dr. Chen, do you recognize this document? Rebecca stared at it. Yes. Did you sign this agreement? Yes. Did you intentionally violate this agreement when you filed the patent application, listing yourself as sole inventor? The silence stretched. Finally, Rebecca's shoulders sagged. Yes. The patent challenge hearing took place on June 12, 2023. The judge was Hun, Patricia Whitmore, who specialized in intellectual property cases and had a reputation for thorough analysis. Lawrence presented our evidence systematically. 847 laboratory notebooks, consecutively numbered and witnessed, digital records showing my authorship of all technical documentation. Building access logs proving I conducted all experimental work. Security footage showing me working alone during critical experiments. Email records showing Rebecca receiving my results rather than directing my work. The partnership agreement she'd violated. Rebecca's attorneys tried to argue that principal investigators deserved primary credit for research conducted in their labs. Judge Whitmore wasn't persuaded. Inventorship in patent law is determined by who conceived the invention and reduced it to practice, she stated. Dr. Chen's role as principal investigator and provider of lab space doesn't establish inventorship. The evidence overwhelmingly demonstrates that Dr. Martinez conceived the novel formulation, conducted all experimental work, documented all results, and reduced the invention to practice. Dr. Chen's contribution appears limited to administrative oversight and result review. She turned to Rebecca directly. Dr. Chen, you signed a partnership agreement guaranteeing equal ownership of discoveries. You violated that agreement. More seriously, you submitted a patent application with false inventorship claims, a form of fraud on the Patent Office. This court finds your actions constitute intentional misappropriation of intellectual property. The ruling was comprehensive. The original patent application was invalidated. A corrected application would be filed listing me as the sole inventor, with Rebecca receiving no inventor credit. Our partnership agreement was voided due to her breach. I was awarded full ownership of the patent and all associated rights. But Judge Whitmore wasn't finished. The evidence suggests Dr. Chen deliberately planned this misappropriation. The court awards Dr. Martinez compensatory damages of $500,000 for breach of contract and fraud. Additionally, given the egregious nature of this intellectual property theft and the 3 years of work Dr. Martinez invested, the court awards punitive damages of $1.5 million. Rebecca's face had gone white. Martin Schultz looked like he wanted to disappear. Furthermore, Judge Whitmore continued, this court is referring this matter to Stanford University's Office of Research Integrity for investigation of research misconduct. Dr. Chen's actions violate fundamental principles of academic integrity and federal regulations governing research conduct. The consequences cascaded rapidly. Stanford launched an investigation within a week. By July, Rebecca had been placed on administrative leave. The investigation confirmed every finding from our patent case. She had systematically taken credit for my work over 3 years. Stanford terminated her faculty position in September 2023 for research misconduct and violation of academic integrity policies. Her termination was publicized in the academic community. Other researchers came forward with similar stories of Rebecca taking credit for their work during her earlier career. The pharmaceutical companies that had expressed interest in licensing the technology contacted me directly. I negotiated a licensing agreement with Mercer Pharmaceuticals for the targeted drug delivery formulation. The deal included $15 million upfront, milestone payments totaling an additional $30 million, and royalties on any approved drugs using the technology. I used part of the initial payment to establish my own research company, focusing on novel drug delivery systems. Dr. Morrison, the lab manager who'd witnessed all my notebooks, joined as my head of R&D. We hired 3 researchers and began work on next-generation formulations. Rebecca attempted to appeal the court's ruling. Her appeal was denied in December 2023. She attempted to find another academic position but discovered that research misconduct findings follow you. Last I heard, she'd left academia entirely. The story made waves in the academic community. Several journals published articles about the case, using it as a cautionary tale about principal investigators taking credit for trainees' work. I was invited to speak at conferences about proper attribution and documentation practices. But the most satisfying moment came in April 2024, exactly 1 year after that deposition. I was presenting at the American Association for Cancer Research annual meeting about our formulation's progress through clinical trials. The abstract listed me as the sole inventor and principal investigator. During the Q&A session, an older researcher stood up. Dr. Martinez, your documentation practices in this research were exemplary. The 847 lab notebooks have become legendary in IP law circles. What advice would you give young researchers about protecting their work? I thought about those 3 years in the lab, the long hours, the careful documentation, the moment I realized Rebecca was planning to cut me out. Document everything, I said. Every experiment, every idea, every conversation. Use consecutively numbered, witnessed notebooks, save every email, back up your digital files. If you're collaborating, have clear written agreements about ownership and attribution. I paused. And if someone tries to steal your work, don't argue. Don't confront them prematurely. Hire an attorney, gather your evidence, and let the system work. If you've done the work and documented it properly, the truth will prevail. The audience applauded. After the session, several young researchers approached me with their own stories of credit theft. I gave them Lawrence's contact information. The targeted drug delivery formulation entered Phase 2 clinical trials in October 2024. Early results are promising. If approved, the technology could help millions of cancer patients receive more effective treatment with fewer side effects. Rebecca tried to claim some credit when news of the clinical trials emerged. She posted on LinkedIn about being involved in groundbreaking cancer research at Stanford. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The patent filing, the court records, and the academic publications all listed me as the sole inventor. 3 years of 60-hour weeks in a lab, conducting 1,247 failed experiments, filling 847 notebooks with meticulous documentation. It had all been worth it. Not because I got revenge on someone who betrayed me, but because I protected work that might actually help people, and because I proved something important. Careful documentation and systematic record-keeping aren't just good science practice. They're how you protect yourself when someone tries to steal your life's work. The truth, properly documented, is its own vindication.